I'm Sari Cooper, a certified sex therapist and sex coach in New York City. I'll be your host to Sex Esteem, a new show where we will explore in all its expressions relationships and sex in the modern world. Tune in for fun-filled facts and entertaining tips to having a more pleasurable sex life. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Sex Esteem with Sari Cooper. I'm Sari Cooper. I'm the director of Center for Love and Sex in New York City, which is a practice specializing in sex therapy for individuals and couples, as well as general couples counseling. I'm also the creator of Sex Esteem LLC, which is a business that really caters to people's needs as far as sex education, whether it's for parents or adults or couples, as well as producing events and offering coaching to people all around the world to help them enhance, heal, and grow their intimate and sexual and erotic relationships. And today I'm interviewing one of Center for Love and Sex's associate therapists, Kelly Ghweinem, and I'm so excited to have you finally on this show because Kelly is about to start a group for women called Reclaiming Oneself After Partner Infidelity. And I've been so excited to have a group like this offered in the practice in Sex Esteem because we have seen so many couples who are dealing with the aftermath of infidelity, affairs, cheating, and sexual compulsivity. So we wanted to create a place for women. And I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about how you came to want to do this group.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm so excited to be here. I'm an associate therapist at the Center for Love and Sex, and I've been here since November 2021, and I've been a therapist for about 11 or 12 years. It's been a while. I don't remember the exact number. Before my time at the Center for Love and Sex, I was a therapist at a center working with people with substance abuse issues. I did individual therapy and I did group therapy. And part of my work there was working with people. Well, all of my work there was working with people in early stages of recovery. So they would come out of detox and we had a 22-week program for them. And so how this relates to my work now is that people in early stages of recovery are going through a lot of changes in their life. And part of those changes are the changes in their relationships. And so while they're in active addiction and while they're in early recovery, sometimes people engage in things in their relationships. They break their monogamy agreements, or maybe their partners break their monogamy agreements. And I saw a lot of people going through hurt, dealing with the aftermath of infidelity. And so while I was at the clinic, I started a group and I helped people heal from that pain. I helped them learn how to have healthy relationships. And I also did this in my individual therapy sessions as well. And so I'm really excited to bring this new group to the Center for Love and Sex so that I can help women heal from the pain of infidelity and learn these new skills of how to heal from infidelity.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get it started. I'm so glad you introduced it. And before we get into it, what are the requirements for this group and how long is the group going to be running for? I think it's important for people to know who are listening.
Yeah, so we are going to have a group that starts in June, and that's going to be a 6-week group. This group is going to be a little bit of an educational group. We're going to learn some skills. We're going to do some processing. It's going to be a safe place for women to talk about their experience and learn how to how to heal from that experience. We're going to use some mindfulness skills, which is going to include some meditation. Then later on in September, we're going to do an ongoing group, which is going to be a group where we do some processing, also take in some of those skills, but talk about what our lives are going to look like, what a path forward is going to look like. And that can look like staying with your partner, or it can look like leaving your partner. And that's not for us to decide. That's not for the group to decide. That's for you as an individual to decide.
Great. So, and I think you're going to be asking women to have a one-on-one interview with you
Mhm.
before they're welcomed into the group. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So what that is going to look like is, if you're interested in the group, you're going to go to the landing page, you're going to speak with our intake coordinator, and she's going to set you up with a one-on-one session with me. I'm going to get to know you a little bit better. You can ask me more in-depth questions on the group. This is just to make sure that you are coming into the group in where you're in the right place in your journey, and that this group is going to be a safe place for you, and also that we're keeping this group an inclusive and safe place for everybody. It is very important that this place is for women to process their hurt and their pain that they're going through, and also learn new skills. We want to make sure that people are in a place where they're ready to not only process the pain, but move forward through the pain. Really go through that mourning process.
And the group itself is 6 weeks long.
Mhm.
I also wanted to just make a note here that this is a coaching group, right? So this is for women who, wherever they live, they can be part of
Yes.
this group, which also I think was wonderful about it, is it welcomes people from a variety of racial, cultural, and orientations, frankly, all around the world. And I think that's what can contribute also to the richness of where women are coming from, don't you think?
I agree, Sari. I think that that's going to be a wonderful aspect of this group, and it's going to be so diverse and inclusive. And we're going to get so many different perspectives, because it opens it up not just to people who live in New York State, where if this was a therapy group, it would only be to people in New York or New Jersey, right? This is going to be people from all over the globe, and hopefully, a lot of different perspectives, and we can see all of that richness coming into the group.
Yeah. So let's dig in a little bit, because I know what you wanted to cover today are some of the greatest myths or tropes, even we can call them, about infidelity and the consequences of infidelity. So I'd love for you to get started. Why don't you start with number one, myth?
Yeah, so this one I see so often in my practice, and that is the myth that if infidelity happens, you have to leave your partner, that it is an absolute deal breaker. If you stay with your partner, you're weak, or that you're letting them take advantage of you, you're letting them walk all over you. And that's just absolutely not true. Whatever your feelings are that happen when infidelity happens, those are your feelings. You're allowed to have those feelings. And even if your partner decides to leave and you want to stay in that relationship, your feelings are valid. That does not make you weak, that does not make you pathetic. That makes you a person that has been hurt. That makes you a person that is grappling with an internal conflict and an internal wound. And that is okay. That's something that we will process through this group. I cannot say enough that, like, just because infidelity has happened, it does not mean that you have to leave. That is not a deal breaker. You get to decide what happens in your life.
Great, thank you. And then another myth that you've talked about, we've discussed, is the idea that if my partner cheated, it must mean that they don't love me. Can you speak to
Mm.
that a bit?
This one I often hear a lot of times in my couple sessions, or it's sometimes too in my individual sessions as well, that, if my partner cheats on me, that must mean they don't love me, right? If someone loves me, they keep within our monogamy agreement. And since they broke our monogamy agreement, that means they don't love me. But the truth is that people break their monogamy agreement for many different reasons. And this isn't to say that we're excusing their behavior or we're condoning their behavior in any way. They chose to break that monogamy agreement. We're just giving reasons and understanding for that behavior. And some of the reasons that I've seen in my practice, and I'll bring it back to that substance use treatment as well, is that, maybe they were high or they were in the height of their addiction, and they were, with somebody, and they decided to be sexual with that person. Maybe it was a one-time thing, or maybe it was an ongoing affair with someone that they use drugs with or that they use alcohol with, and they broke their monogamy agreement. That had nothing to do with their partner with whom they love very much, it was just their addiction was also in place. Another thing that I often see is that they have a lot of these uncomfortable feelings. Maybe they're feeling insecure about something. Maybe they feel like they don't make enough money, they're not successful enough, or they don't like where they are in their life. And so they're grappling with these internal feelings, and they feel like they need external validation, and they step outside of their relationship and they break that monogamy agreement outside of their relationship through sexual validation, through, that external validation by other people telling them how wonderful they are, how attractive they are. So it's these other reasons why people break their monogamy agreement that have nothing to do with love.
I also would add to it. I am totally on board. And I also see so many couples after, an affair, infidelity has happened. But so we hear you because we've seen, what it's like to be that betrayed, hurt partner, right? Who comes in the door and goes, what the hell just happened to my life, And that exploitation of their trust is shatters kind of their belief, right, in what a relationship should look like. And what they came into the relationship with is, if you love me, you won't betray my trust. And other things that I've seen is, people who have very deep wounds of trauma from their childhood. That's internal, right? It's between them and them that they've never actually addressed. So it's an illness, really, in the same way that addiction is an illness, or they've been abused, or they've been sexually molested, or they feel like they were bullied growing up. All of these are reasons, again, not excuses, right? But it becomes like a crack open, and the betrayed partner, in some ways, are seeing this split off part of their husband or spouse or partner that they have never seen. One, because that partner felt deep shame about it, or that partner was so disassociated or offline that they split it off. We call it in psychology, right? They split it off because they couldn't own it themselves. And they did these behaviors as a way of enacting all of these kinds of traumatic events and internal illnesses or disorders, whatever. So happy marriages, not happy people, right? People who actually do the betraying, the betrayers, are deeply wounded on some level, but they may still love their partner. They just have not had a chance to be integrated as a person and aligned internally. Great. Let's move on. The belief that I should have known, right? Women say to themselves all the time after they discover an infidelity, I should have known. So can you talk a little bit more about that myth and how to bust that one?
Oh, yeah. So I should have known. This is just like something that really replays over and over and over in our heads when something like this happens, right? It's like we start looking at the relationship, or we start looking back at our lives, at the relationship through this lens of infidelity, and we start picking through things of like, I should have known what that meant. I should have known that, like, when they were telling me this, they really meant this, or I should have known that this was going to happen. Like, we should be these fortune tellers, and I'm so stupid for this, and like, I should not have believed them when I felt this little intuitive thing telling me that this was happening. I asked them about it and they told me not to worry about it. But we know that liars are liars and they're going to gaslight us, right? Like, we've seen this time and time again, that people come into the office and they've said, I wouldn't do that. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't cheat on you. And then it comes out, wait, oh, an infidelity happened. And it just blows everything up. The rug is pulled out from underneath you. And so this little voice in our head that says, I should have known, it's like we're blaming ourselves for something that we could have never seen coming.
Which is why we're calling this reclaiming oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Because most women come in feeling like, I can never trust myself again. Like, I was so fooled, or I had no idea, or I had some inklings and I just ignored it, that I must not be trustworthy. I can't even trust my own self, right? So that is why we're calling it reclaiming oneself, because you're doing the healing work for yourself to get back in touch with your trusting yourself and setting boundaries, which is all about the recovery after infidelity is discovered, right?
Yeah, the healing process is difficult, but it's so important that we empower ourselves and we get in touch with what we know, with that authentic self. What is our true self trying to tell us and talk to us? And we have that inner, like, critic, we have that inner mind that kind of lies to us sometimes and tells us these things, but then we also have our true self, and we're going to talk about aligning those things.
So let's move forward a little bit. I want to just ask you, you've put together this curriculum, and one part of the curriculum is stages of mourning. And, if you're a therapist watching this, you know that there are stages of grief after someone of loss, but you put together a stage of mourning around infidelity, the loss of infidelity. So can you just name some of the stages?
Yeah, this is something really exciting that we've really been talking about. You and I have been talking about together, and some of the stages, this isn't all of them, but some of them are rage, jealousy, fear, possessiveness, increased libido. This one I find so fascinating, and I've seen so many times in our practice. Desire to go back to the way things were, denial of the event's importance, and denial of one's own needs. And I'm gonna just like drop it off there because there's more, but I don't want to give away all of it.
Yeah. Esther Perel, who's a friend and colleague of mine, created a term called relational ambivalence, right? Which is what we were sort of talking about earlier, which is this idea that, should I stay? Should I go? If indeed it's your choice, right? And the relationship hasn't been, ended by your partner, but that constant going, should I stay? Should I go? Am I going to have to make this decision quickly? How will I be judged for it? What is the meaning of each decision, right? And that keeps going through your mind like an intrusive thought. And it also affects your attachment issues, right? Because you become more anxiously attached as an outcome, even if you were securely attached before. So all of these things, I think are stages that you have to go through after you discover your partner has been unfaithful or cheated.
Yeah. And those stages are something that we're going to get to in depth in the 6-week group. And then in the September group, which is an ongoing group, we're going to really dig in deep to those stages and talk about each person's individual experience and how they're experiencing those stages and how we can heal through those stages. Because, I really believe that mourning is a true important healing process, and the only way to really get through this pain is to go through that mourning process.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I always tell clients, you can't bypass a
Hmm.
painful experience because otherwise it just goes underground or swept under the rug. I also think it's important for people to understand what they were missing. A lot of times where in couples therapy, a lot of times maybe the person who strayed, the person who broke the sexual exclusivity contract, as we call it in sex therapy, right, are talking about things that they were missing potentially in the relationship. But I also think that the hurt partner, for many times, after this infidelity sort of breaks open the earth of their relationship, says, there are many times that I wasn't happy with our sex life, or many times I felt, you were withholding intimacy, but I didn't stray. I didn't cross that boundary. I didn't break our marriage vows, right? And so this is also something that you are going to be working on, right? In the relation, in this group of, for them to dig down and discover, like, what are my needs? What was I not getting all
Yeah.
this time?
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because so many people, they stuff down what their desires are, and they don't know what they find pleasurable anymore, or what what sensations they enjoy, or how to engage like emotionally or physically intimate with their partner, or even with themselves. And so that's something that we are going to talk about in this group. How can we start to find pleasure? How can we start to find pleasure with ourselves and with other people?
So let me ask you another question about in terms of, will you be giving like homework assignments or journaling exercises? Will you be doing handouts?
Yeah, so what I'll be doing is journaling exercises. I love journal prompts. Usually they are open-ended journal prompts. So it'll be like a question, or it'll be a stream of consciousness, reflect on XYZ, or write a letter to like either your partner or whatever. Um, but in group, I like to do mindfulness based exercises, which look like breathing exercises, body scans. And I also like to do those at home as well, because we can do them in session, and that's great to do them in session, but the work really happens in between sessions. That's where you get really the practice and how to integrate this into your life. And so there will be homework, there will be things for you to do um, by yourself, and also things for you to practice with other people.
Great. So tell everyone what you hope they'll gain from this Reclaiming Oneself After Infidelity group, even just the 6-week one.
Yeah, so the 6-week group, I really hope first and foremost that the women gain a sense of community, a safe place to process their pain and the suffering that they've experienced through this infidelity. I hope that they gain some skills of boundary setting. I hope that they start to advocate for their needs and their wants and their desires. I hope that they start to feel empowered so that they do start to advocate for those needs. I hope that they start to carve out a new path. They start to envision a new path, to start to want to carve out a new path, whether that's with their partner or without their partner. Once again, that's not for us to decide, that's for you to decide. And hopefully this group can give you some clarity around that, or this is a place for you to sit in that ambivalence. That's okay, we're here to support you. That's what this group is about: support, safety, and just a sense of community. I hope that you will really gain this sense of confidence in who you are, and that you are a a person worthy of love and worthy of being. That's
Mm,
what I really hope, that you are worthy of safety and security.
I love it. So we're going to put a link down below, or you can look, fill out our form, because we have a couple of, right, you have a couple of options as far as the time that we, for this group in June, right?
Thursday or Saturday, 12 to
Right.
1:30.
So, and it's a 1.5 hour group. It's $80 per group, and there'll be a one-on-one interview with you also for $80 ahead of time, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So thank you so much for your attention. And if you go to Center for Love and Sex, you'll see at the top a Sex Esteem tab, and underneath that tab is the group sign up or inquiry. Like, you're not paying any money to fill out that form. You're just expressing interest for our admission coordinator to follow up with you and to set up an appointment with Kelly for the one-on-one. So thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Kelly, for making the time. And I hope we can reach out and help a lot of women. I think there's a limit size to this group, so it's important to get in your information as soon as possible, right? The limit
Yep.
size is 12.
Wow. 12.
And it's starting to fill up. So thank you so much. And you'll hear from us if you fill out that form.